What if I told you the real secret to making money in the market has nothing to do with Wall Street and everything to do with the strange, crazy world of quantum physics? Well, today we're diving into an investor's guide based on one of the wildest ideas in all of science, the observer effect.
So let's just cut right to the chase. Do you want to know how to make steady, consistent, long-term money in the financial markets?
Okay, so the answer is don't look. I know, that sounds completely insane, right? But stick with me here, because by the end of this, you're going to understand the incredibly powerful logic behind this idea. And it all starts with a pretty cool quantum analogy.
So first up, let's unpack this core idea, this one powerful analogy that's going to unlock this entire way of thinking about your money. Okay, so here it is, the observer effect. It's a fundamental concept in quantum mechanics that says the simple act of looking at something, of measuring it, actually changes it. The very act of watching alters the outcome. And here's the wild part. This exact same principle applies almost perfectly to our investment portfolios. All right, let's really break this down. Think of the market's day-to-day movements, all that red and green noise, as a chaotic little particle, just jumping around all over the place, totally random and unpredictable. When you stare at that chaos, it makes you anxious, and you end up making bad emotional decisions. But the long-term trend, that's completely different. That's like a smooth, predictable probability wave. It's a pattern of growth that only shows up over time, and you have to leave it alone to let it actually form.
So you might be wondering, why does this long-term probability wave almost always go up? Well, it turns out the game is actually rigged in your favor. Now, this isn't just wishful thinking. It's grounded in two of the most powerful forces on the planet. First, you've got inflation. As long as we keep creating more money, the value of real assets just tends to go up. And second, you have technological progress. Humanity just doesn't stop innovating, becoming more efficient and more productive. And here's the kicker. You combine those two massive forces over a long enough timeline, we're talking a decade or more, and the probability of your assets going up gets incredibly high. It's almost a certainty. The long game is absolutely weighted in your favor. And this is exactly where most investors lose. They get obsessed with watching that chaotic little particle, the short-term noise. Every time you make a trade based on a headline, you're creating what's called destructive friction. It's a process that just grinds away at your capital through fees, and maybe even more importantly, it just destroys your mental energy. But here's the thing. It's not entirely your fault that you feel this need to watch constantly. There is an entire system, an entire industry, that is specifically designed to make you do that. The entire financial media and brokerage world is basically, as one source put it, an extremely vicious disciplinary mechanism. You have to understand, it's not a system built to make you wealthy. It's a system built to make you anxious. Why? Because anxious investors trade more, and that's how the house gets paid. And this cycle is so simple, it's kind of brilliant. Step 1, they create anxiety by flooding you with breaking news and urgent headlines. Step 2, they encourage you to watch constantly with slick apps and notifications. Step 3, all that watching triggers your emotions, right? Fear of missing out or fear of losing it all. And finally, step 4, they profit from those emotional trades by collecting fees and commissions. So when you make the choice to not look, you're doing something truly powerful. You are refusing to be fuel for their machine. You're taking back control of your time, your emotions, and ultimately your own financial future.
Okay, so that's the why. Let's get into the how. How do you actually put together a portfolio that gets stronger the more you ignore it? You build a fortress. The goal isn't to pick hot stocks. The goal is to ride that big, inevitable probability wave of economic growth. So you build a defensive, diversified portfolio with things like broad market ETFs that capture entire economies and hard assets like physical real estate and gold. And let's bring it right back to our quantum analogy. That fortress you've built, that is your stable probability wave. It contains all that potential for long-term growth. But the moment you panic sell because of some scary headline, you've observed it. You have collapsed the wave function, you've destroyed that potential, and forced it into one single and usually pretty disappointing outcome. There's this incredible phrase for this strategy. It's from Sun Tzu's The Art of War. Immovable as a mountain. I love that. It means you build your position and then you just hold. You become unshakable. You let all the little storms of daily news just pass right by you. And this brings us to the final, and I think really the most important piece of this whole puzzle. Because this isn't just about money. It's a mental game. It's a philosophy.
Adopting the Stone Buddha mindset means you finally understand that the flashing red and green numbers on your phone are just illusions. They're meaningless. They're just random noise, tiny little blips inside that massive, sweeping probability wave. They are not the reality of your wealth.
And this puts you on a completely different path in life. You have the anxious investor on one side, constantly stressed, chasing the impossible dream of perfect timing. But the Stone Buddha? They've erased the finish line. Their goal isn't perfection. Their goal is freedom. They see the market's ups and downs not as a threat, but just as the normal breathing of a healthy system.
And that leads us to this final, profound idea. By not observing, one possesses the entire universe. When you let go of that stressful, desperate need to control every little movement, you stop chasing ghosts. You let the powerful macro forces of the world do the heavy lifting for you. And in a very real way, you gain everything. Not just a better portfolio, but you get your time back, you get your focus back, and you get your freedom back.